Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're taking on one of the biggest questions in the EV world, Model 3 versus Model Y. On the surface, it seems pretty simple, right? But these are the world's best-selling electric vehicles, and get this, they're built on the exact same platform. They share the same powertrain, the same giant screen, they have a ton of the same DNA. So you'd think picking one would be easy. Well, not so fast. The choice is actually way more complex than you'd imagine. So today, we're diving deep into expert reviews and what real owners are saying to figure out what truly separates these two superstars. All right, let's kick things off with the most obvious difference. The one you can literally see from a mile away. How much stuff you can actually fit inside these things. Okay, just look at that number. The Model Y is an absolute cavern. When you fold those rear seats down, you get a massive 75.5 cubic feet of space. To put that in perspective, that's not just a little more than the Model 3, it's nearly triple the capacity. We're talking enough space to swallow luggage, camping gear, maybe even a small couch. And for the people who actually own these cars, this isn't just some number on a spec sheet. It's everything. It is the difference between a simple trip to the grocery store and a full-blown family camping adventure. It's really about your lifestyle. And this chart just breaks it all down perfectly. See, the Model 3 has a classic sedan trunk. It's deep, sure, but the opening is small. The Model Y, though, that hatchback design, plus seats that fold totally flat, and not one but two subtrunks, it's the undisputed champion for hauling bulky stuff. So many owners say this is the car you want for those IKEA runs, or for just throwing a stroller in the back without a fight. Okay, so space is a huge deal. But for a lot of people, maybe for you, the real decider isn't about hauling stuff. It's about the experience you get behind the wheel. So let's talk about how these two actually feel on the road. And when you talk to owners, the verdict is just crystal clear. The Model 3 is a pure sports sedan. It sits lower, it feels more agile, and you feel really connected to the road. The Model Y, on the other hand, is your modern, comfortable crossover. You're sitting up higher, you've got that commanding view of the road, it's a totally different vibe. You gotta love this quote, right? Like, I'm in a starfighter. It just perfectly nails that emotional pull of the Model 3. It's not just about getting from point A to point B, it's about the absolute thrill of the drive, that nimbleness, that instant response. That's why the driving enthusiasts almost always go for the sedan. And let's be real, both of these cars are ridiculously quick. Just look at these 0 to 60 times from car and driver. Even the slower ones are shockingly fast. And when you jump to the performance models, whoa, we are deep in supercar territory. But even with similar numbers, reviewers always seem to give the nod to the Model 3 for having a more engaging drive, all thanks to that lower center of gravity. It just feels more planted. So, we've talked space, we've talked driving feel. But now, let's get into the really interesting stuff. The things you can't actually see, but believe me, you can definitely feel. The fascinating engineering changes that are hiding just under the skin. This right here is a massive manufacturing breakthrough. Think about it like this. On an airplane, the wings are part of the core structure. They're not just bolted on. That's what this is. The battery pack isn't just heavy cargo the car is lugging around. It is the car's skeleton. It's a super clever design that gets rid of parts, cuts down on weight, and makes the whole chassis way stiffer. That's why the newer models handle even better and are even safer. Okay, get ready for a twist. You would absolutely think the smaller, lighter Model 3 is the efficiency champ, right? It just makes sense. But check this out. In a real-world winter test from Teslarati, the bigger, heavier Model Y was actually more efficient. So what on earth is going on here? The answer comes down to one brilliant piece of engineering, a heat pump. See, the Model Y was one of the first Teslas to get one. Instead of just burning a ton of energy to make heat like a simple heater, a heat pump works kind of like an air conditioner in reverse. It just efficiently moves heat into the cabin. This gave it a huge advantage in the cold, and it's a feature they later added to the Model 3 because it worked so well. All right, we've gone over the space, the driving feel, and all that cool hidden tech. So, the big question remains, how do you actually choose between them? What's the final verdict? At the end of the day, it really just boils down to your life and what you need. Are you looking for that pure driving fun, that starfighter feeling of being glued to the road? Then the Model 3 is your car. But if you need a versatile, do-it-all, practical powerhouse that can handle whatever life throws at it, well, that's the Model Y. And here's the final and maybe most crucial piece of the puzzle, the price. At the time we're filming this, the price difference between them was tiny. We're talking around $1,000. For that little extra cash, you are getting so much more car. It's a value proposition that tons of owners call a total no-brainer, if space is even a tiny concern for you. And that kind of leaves us with a bigger question, doesn't it? As the whole car market keeps shifting towards bigger, more practical SUVs, what does that mean for the pure fun of driving a sports sedan? What do we really want from our cars these days? Is it all about practicality, or is there still room for that pure, unadulterated passion for the drive? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer. So you're ready to jump in and get a Tesla? Awesome. But you almost immediately hit a fork in the road, right? Do you go for the sleek, low-slung Model 3 sedan, or its taller, way more spacious sibling, the Model Y? They look so similar, but trust me, they are built for two totally different people. Today, we're going to dig into an expert comparison and figure out which one is actually built for you. At a glance, they could be twins. They share something like 75% of the same parts. But oh man, that last 25%, that's where all the magic happens. It creates this really distinct rivalry between two of the most popular EVs on the entire planet. One is really built for the driver, and the other, it's all about the journey. So which one is it going to be? It feels like a decision that's just packed with trade-offs, doesn't it? Performance versus practicality, style versus space. But what if I told you that for the vast, vast majority of people out there, the choice is actually surprisingly obvious? Yeah, let's just cut right to the chase. The expert analysis is crystal clear. The Model Y is what they call the no-brainer pick for most people, and it's all because of its incredible practicality. But, and this is a huge but, if the pure, unadulterated joy of driving is your number one absolute top priority, well, then the Model 3 is the undisputed champ. Let's break down exactly why. Okay, so the best way to start is to ask a really simple question. Who are these cars really for? This is less about the technical specs and way more about your actual day-to-day lifestyle. Are you flying solo in your commute, or are you basically running the family taxi service? This slide just nails the two different personalities. Over on the left, you've got the Model 3, for the driver. This is the person who lives for that connected, sporty feel on a winding road. They value razor-sharp handling, probably on their solo commute to work. Then on the right, the Model Y is for the adventurer. This is you if you're packing up the family, all the gear, the dog, and a massive haul from Costco. You just need versatility and easy access, period. So how do those different personalities translate to the actual cars? Let's get into the physical differences, because this is where the Model Y really starts to run away with it and makes its case as the undisputed king of practicality. And you can see it right away. The Model 3 sits low to the ground, giving it that classic, sleek sedan vibe. The Model Y, though, is a taller SUV, and that makes a huge difference in daily life. Just getting in and out is so much easier, especially for taller people or, if you're wrestling with car seats. The Y also just feels way more open and airy in the back, thanks to a wider cabin and that incredible single-piece glass roof. But let's talk about the single biggest, most jaw-dropping difference: sheer space. With the back seats folded down, the Model Y gives you a whopping 75.5 cubic feet of cargo room. And to be clear, that isn't just big for an electric car, that is a massive amount of space for any compact SUV out there. And just look at this comparison. It's not even a fair fight, is it? The Model Y has nearly triple the cargo space of the Model 3. That is literally the difference between maybe fitting a couple of suitcases and fitting all your camping gear, a stroller, and the week's groceries, all at the same time. This one chart might be the only thing a lot of people need to see. And it's not just about that one big number, it's about how smart that space is. The rear seats fold down completely flat, which creates this perfect surface for huge items or even for car camping. You get two hidden sub-trunks for extra storage, and the front trunk, the frunk, is big enough to swallow a standard carry-on suitcase. The utility here is it's on a whole other level. So, the Model Y wins on space. Case closed, right? Everybody buy a Model Y. Well, not so fast. We haven't talked about the drive yet. And this is where the Model 3 gets its revenge. This is the Model 3's home turf. It drives like a proper sports sedan. That lower center of gravity makes it feel absolutely planted, just glued to the road. The analysis even says its handling feels like a BMW. And that is some seriously high praise. Simply put, it's just more fun. The Model Y is still crazy quick, don't get me wrong, but its ride is more comfort-oriented. It's built for smooth hauling, not for carving up canyon roads. Now, on the tech front, they're basically twins. Both are built around that giant, iconic 15.4-inch screen and get you access to the whole supercharger network. But since the Model Y is a slightly newer design, it does have a few nice little quality of life updates, like a front-facing camera that makes parking way easier and some upgraded air vents. They're small things for sure, but they add up. And all of this brings us to the final critical calculation: value. This quote from the analysis really just sums it all up perfectly. The core argument here isn't just that the Model Y is more practical, it's that it is so much more practical for a surprisingly tiny bump in price. Now, at the time of this review, the price difference between comparable all-wheel drive models was only about $1,000. Let that sink in for a second. For about the price of a new laptop, you could upgrade to a vehicle with just vastly more utility. And here it is, this is the punchline. For that $1,000 difference, you get over 200% more cargo space. When you see it laid out like that, you can understand why the source calls the Model Y a no-brainer. The return you get on that tiny investment is it's immense.
All right, let's bring it all home. We've talked about who each car is for, we've seen the Model Y's massive advantage in space, and we've felt the Model 3's superior driving feel. It's time to put it all together and make the final call.
In the end, it really comes down to that classic battle, your head versus your heart. If your head is doing the talking, if you're thinking about kids, pets, road trips, and pure, simple utility, the Model Y is the logical, undeniable winner. But if your heart is in the driver's seat and you're craving that fun, engaging, grin-inducing drive, well, the Model 3 is the car that's going to put a bigger smile on your face every single time. So, what's your next move? Well, first, just be really honest with yourself about what you prioritize. Is it the thrill of the drive or the ease of daily life? And second, and this is the most important piece of advice from the source, go test drive both of them. No review, no explainer, nothing can replace the actual feeling you get when you're behind the wheel. And that really just leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Are you buying a car for how it makes you feel on the journey, or for how much stuff it can carry when you finally get to your destination? Your answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know.